Welcome to another episode of the Benchwarmers. I'm Matt, here with my co-host Ryan.
Hey guys, welcome to the 21st episode. Our team, the Vegas Knights, ended up losing. We are sad to say the team of the Benchwarmers is not the Stanley Cup champs. Also, just another thing, look out later this week for episode 22 for the World Cup edition, and we'll give you the preview on that. Also, don't forget to follow us on Twitter at Benchwarmer06. Subscribe to our podcast on Google Play Music, Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, Stitcher, and YouTube.
On today's episode, we'll be focused on the NBA. We'll be discussing the NBA Finals wrap-up, LeBron James's pending free agency, and the legacy of Kevin Durant and Steph Curry.
The Benchwarmers.
Let's talk about this, Ryan. The finals came to a screeching halt with a 4-0 sweep by Golden State. Can't say I'm surprised here. I mean, I did say Cleveland was garbage. We both did say that. And game one probably should have been won by Cleveland, but, George Hill missing the free throw, JR being clueless didn't help the cause, and in overtime, Golden State ran away with it. And then game 2 and 3 and 4, just more of the same, just Golden State dominating. And then now we learn that LeBron James supposedly broke his hand after the game 1 loss by punching a whiteboard, which I find that interesting that it comes out after he gets swept. I don't know if that's something that he's kind of making as an excuse because of the fact he got swept. But, at this point, come on, man. Like, you should have told us right after it occurred, not after the series is over. Not to say that he played poorly. In the games 2 through 4, he still played well enough that I don't think his hand really bothered him all that much, which is crazy even to say that because you would think a basketball player would need his hands to play. But, once again, LeBron James is LeBron James. So, but once again, props to Golden State. They're 3 championships in 4 years. KD wins back-to-back Finals MVPs. Looks like they're the dynasty here, Ryan. What do you think?
Don't forget Tyronn Lue not calling a timeout in game 1. He is also to blame for this. But in all, you're right. You said the sweep. I at least thought they were going to be able to win 2. But game 4 looked like they just gave up. The whole team, including LeBron, gave up. It was kind of sad to see. Game 3, I thought they were actually in it for the most part until the very end when then Durant just lit them up and then they gave up at that point too. But like I said, game 1 was a game they probably should have won and didn't. It's a tough loss for them, definitely, especially for LeBron. There's 2 reasons, and I'm not trying to defend him here, but I'm going to say a good reason that he's not saying he has a broken hand is because if I'm the Warriors and I find out that the star player has a broken hand, I'm sending my guy out to mess his hand up even more. Intentional, not intentional, it's just something you would do. So I get why he didn't say it, but I'm not saying that it didn't look like maybe it was theatrical at the same time. I'm not saying that. But all in all, it was a good series for the Golden State Warriors. And, LeBron played as hard as he could, but, that turbo button doesn't last forever, like he said. You can't take fatigue off and injury off. So, he played the most he could play, the best he could play, and, when he has a garbage team the way he has, yes, he put it together, but the garbage team that he has, there was no chance after that game 1 loss that they had a shot at really doing much of anything. Not sure how Durant got MVP, but I am. Steph Curry, in those 4 games, Steph Curry had 2 30-point games as well. It wasn't just Durant. Now, Durant won the 2 games for them as well. But, Steph Curry put up some numbers too. Either way, Durant was pretty well deserving of it. I think Steph Curry had a possible option there, but Durant did play a more solid series all around.
Yeah, I mean, I have nothing but respect for Golden State. They're clearly a great team. They're tough to beat. And Ryan, your point about if LeBron said that he was hurt earlier than he did, the fact that you could say that the opponent would take advantage, I understand that, especially with a guy like Draymond Green, who is on the opposing side. I could definitely see him doing something, I won't say illegal, but borderline iffy on, whenever LeBron wants to drive it in. I could see Draymond purposely slap his hand just to kind of throw him off, which I could see why that would be the case.
Yeah, like I'm saying, I'm not saying that was the reason or the excuse, and I'm not giving that. I'm just saying, it's something you got to think about. Like, when we were talking about the whole Kevin Love story earlier in the year, it's not something you want to come out and say, hey, I have, depression or, different things going on in my mind that players will pick at during the playoffs purposely to mess with you. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, but I don't know. I just think it was kind of a bad timing. You got swept. You kind of got blown out. Your team basically, their mind was out of it, and then you're like, oh yeah, my hand was broken, so I did what I could. So I'm just gonna wash my hands on this. It's not really my fault. That's what at least to me, that's what it looked like.
Yeah, like I said, I'm not saying it wasn't in poor taste how he did it, because it may have looked that way. Maybe wait a couple days and then news breaks. Hey, LeBron James played a broken hand through the entire series after game 1. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that may have looked a little better and this looked a little, it wasn't all my fault. And I'm not saying it was LeBron's fault. I'm not saying that at all. But I agree with you. It was close to a poor taste type of move. So since we're speaking about LeBron James, the king, your favorite player of all time, your greatest of all time, everything, all the above.
Whoa. Let's stop it right there. I said he would be the greatest if he beat Golden State. He clearly could even win one game. So he is back to just a mere mortal.
So since we are talking about LeBron, let's talk about these possible free agency moves that he could make that you talked about, that you touched on earlier.
Let's go Sixers.
So there are 4 teams that I heard in this possible move. One, as Matt just chatted in the background, the Sixers. So let's get into that one first. How do you see the Sixers and LeBron James fitting together?
Well, the issue there is Ben Simmons, because Simmons and LeBron, as we mentioned in previous podcasts, they basically do the same thing. They're playmakers, and they really can't shoot that well. Obviously, LeBron's a better shooter because he's the more experienced, mature player. So, one of two things. Either Simmons knows how to shoot ASAP, or basically LeBron becomes the spot-up guy. I'm not really sure how that's going to work, but you know what? I'm willing to try it out because, you know what? I want the best player in the world to be on my hometown team, so I'm willing to risk that. That fast break would be nasty. Simmons and LeBron on a fast break, it'd be a sight to see. So I'm not going to complain if that happens.
So based on bias, you want LeBron, whether it would work or not. That's what I'm getting out of that.
Yes, Ryan. I want the best player on the planet on my team.
I just wanted to clarify. Now, me looking at it, yeah, I'd want the best player on my team, but I don't want that hurting my future players that have the potential to be one of the greatest players to play the game in Ben Simmons. If he learns how to get a jump shot, if he plays a little bit better, he has the potential to get up there. I'm not saying he will, but there's definitely potential there. I think it could hurt us and hurt him more. Things have happened with other players and stuff like that. And they say that when Michael Jordan went to the Wizards, it hurt Kwame Brown so much that he ended up not even playing in the NBA anymore.
No.
I'm not saying
Kwame Brown's
that,
trash. Kwame Brown is trash.
I'm not saying that that's it. I'm saying that was the excuse that everyone was saying. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that this is what is they're comparing it to. So I get that part of it, but at the same time, I look at it like this. I'm LeBron James. I played, 15 years in the league. I'd rather be the guy you pass the ball to than drive to the lane and hit turbo every 5 seconds like he basically was saying. I'm fatigued. I'm getting older. I can't continue to drive to the lane. So as much as people and even you point out that like, hey, they both want to get the ball in hands and drive to the lane, I don't think it would be that much of a problem. One, because I think Simmons would, want to keep the ball in his hands. And two, I think LeBron would allow him to take the ball in his hands and pass it out. And LeBron James would be the spot-up shooter. Because if you think about it, no one's really going to leave LeBron open. So it's a one-on-one, and Simmons can win that. And if not, you got Embiid down low. So, or if we keep Sarge, you have him outside, or Redick, depending on how the lineup goes. If we re-sign Redick, So I'm thinking it could work. I don't think that we would have that head bashing that people are saying. I think that Simmons would control the ball, and LeBron would step back purposely to help the team, because that would be a big three and two young big three that could possibly fight for a chance. And with the defensive mindset that this team has, I think that's a team that has a chance at winning a title. I'm not saying maybe next year, but it's definitely a better chance than some of the other options out there.
Yeah, I mean, like you mentioned, I think the most important part is who we still keep on the team. Because I feel like if LeBron comes, we may lose Sarge, Covington, Fultz. I mean, I know.
I have no problem losing Covington. Covington's garbage.
I know you hate Covington, and I get it. But at the end of the day, these guys are depth figures. And if we're going to give up on these guys, who's going to replace them? We're going to replace them as basically we're going to turn into Cleveland with like a top-heavy team with just bums filling out the rest of the team. That's kind of what I don't want. So I'm hoping that
way better than that. I'm not saying that, because you could trade away some of those guys you're talking about, and possibly pick up a PG-13 or Kawhi Leonard if possible things go your way. A starting five like that and some off the bench subpar guys, I don't think we'd have that big of a problem.
Yeah, I mean that's if all goes well, which I mean we're from Philadelphia. Nothing really works out that perfectly for us, so I'm not getting my hopes up to that extent. Would LeBron come? Sure, but I don't know if we're gonna have a super team like that, like you mentioned, like a PG or a Kawhi, because that should be devastating with Simmons and Embiid. That would be just ridiculous.
We have the 10th pick we can get rid of. We have Covington we can get rid of. And, we got a lot of other options out there. We can definitely just push over to the side and pick up, a possible Kawhi, depending on how things look. Although I know Kawhi is trying to meet with Pop or vice versa. So I'm not sure how it's going to play out. But, that is a possible look. But speaking of PG-13, another team I heard of that is a possibility is the LA Lakers. Only if PG-13 were to go there. I don't even see why this would be an option in general. Let's put LeBron back with Isaiah Thomas. I mean, you got Kuzma, who's played a great year last year. Possibly Ingram stays, maybe not, depending on if they get LeBron and PG-13. They may have to get rid of him because his contract, I'm pretty sure, is up this year. Obviously, you're getting rid of Ball. I don't see LA the spot for LeBron. It's not all hands on deck, sunshine at the end of the tunnel. I don't see this one even a possibility at all.
Well, the only way I could see that being an option is if LeBron basically, he's okay. He's content with the number of championships he already has. He wants to be in LA because it's LA. He wants to just chill, be on Lakers are one of the most popular franchises in sports history, and it's Magic Johnson. And LeBron did say he wants to be the first billionaire athlete. Who better to learn from than Magic? So from that perspective, I could see it, but I highly doubt, like you mentioned, Ryan, that he wants to give up on the title runs. So I could see from the entrepreneurship point of view why he would want to go to LA, but from the athlete competitor standpoint, obviously it doesn't make any sense.
So speaking of first billionaire athlete, another option I heard before I get into the final option was he stays in Cleveland, asks for a ridiculous amount of money, and then builds a team around whatever he wants to build a team around. That's even more ridiculous. Sorry, let me rephrase that. That is a little bit more probable to stay in Cleveland, to make the money to make, to then take over the team at the end of his career. I see that one being a little bit more of a possibility for him if it's set up that way, the way I literally just, painted that picture. He gets a big contract. He stays around. As soon as his contract's over, he becomes the owner of the team. or whatever they want to make him at the end of the day, and he stays in his hometown. He reps Cleveland from the day he was born to the day he finishes his NBA career. I see that one a big possibility, a way bigger possibility than him moving to LA. Like I said, he can still put some players around him if he wanted to. He's already got Love. If they want to keep Love, they could add another puzzle piece there that is a star that may help the team out. So there's a little bit more of a play there. I'm not saying it's a great option, but I see it way better than LA.
I mean, I get where you're coming from a competitive standpoint. Cleveland makes more sense than LA, but I don't know. I feel like his relationship with the owner, Dan Gilbert, isn't great. I mean, it wasn't great to begin with, and I don't think it got any better. But like you mentioned, if somehow they pay him a lot and they kind of give him a wink-wink deal about ownership in the future, I mean, that might tempt him enough to just stay for the remaining of his career and just. I mean, I'm pretty sure even if he's in Cleveland, we obviously just saw him take a garbage team to the finals. So I highly doubt that the future teams are going to be this bad. So I'm sure he'll get better help, and probably will continue to lead them to the finals, barring the other Eastern teams stay put. But I'm sure you're going to name some other teams that he may also think about going to, especially in the East.
So that's it for the East that I heard about as a top four, with the Sixers and LA and Cleveland.
Oh, I heard about their dark horse, the Celtics.
That could play out a little bit better, although him playing back with Kyrie or them getting rid of him.
Because they could get rid of Hayward, because Hayward makes basically close to what LeBron makes.
So drop Hayward. Hayward goes to the Sixers. That could work. I can see that.
They're not going to drop him. Why would they drop him?
Listen, you just drop him. You pick up LeBron. He somehow ends up in Philadelphia. I'm okay with that scenario somehow. All right. At least he can shoot the ball.
This is true. He's white.
You had to go there.
The Benchwarmers creating controversy.
He can't shoot the ball. And okay, yeah, facts is he happens to be white, but there's some guys who can shoot the ball too. How about Ray Allen?
I mean, sure. I mean, I'm not.
That's all I'm gonna say. And I mean that could be an interesting dynamic. So if you get rid of Hayward, but I mean Kyrie's original issue was LeBron. You think that Kyrie's gonna want to play in Boston if they decide to bring LeBron over?
Yeah, but if I was Boston, why do you care? I mean, if I was Danny Ainge and you have the opportunity to get LeBron James, I don't care what Kyrie thinks. Like he's probably gonna leave anyway. So why?
This team made it to the Eastern Conference Finals. Why would you possibly hurt what that guy could bring to the table? Or you're saying that, since they made it to the Eastern Conference Finals without him, they have options.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just, like, if you are Danny Ainge, right, Kyrie only has one more year remaining in his contract. There's a good chance that, actually I heard that Kyrie is open to other teams. So he clearly doesn't have any kind of loyalty to Boston to begin with. So if that's the case, then if I was Danny Ainge, I'm like, hey, if I have the opportunity to get the best player on the planet, I'm gonna look to think about it, because I mean, why not? It's not really hurting your team. I mean, LeBron's the ultimate team player, so it's not like you're hurting yourself there. And Boston has shooters that LeBron could clearly play with. I mean, if I was Danny Ainge, I definitely would think about it, and I really wouldn't think too much about the Kyrie situation, because at the end of the day, he's under contract, and you know what? If he wants to, complain and moan about playing with LeBron again, go for it. But I mean, at the end of the day, he's getting paid to play on the Boston Celtics, and if LeBron comes, LeBron comes. If not, it is what it is. But I don't think if Kyrie's move is to continue to complain, I don't think it's a good look on him.
Oh yeah, I mean, if he's continuing to complain, then I definitely agree. Why the hell not? Let him pick up LeBron, and then they have to figure out what to do from there. If he wants to trade, then hey, get rid of him. Someone else is going to want him, and they clear up some cap room anyway. Maybe do a him and Hayward deal depending on where you're sending them. So yeah, I mean that could work. I definitely missed that one. That would be a dangerous team right there. You have Tatum, as young as he is, and the rest of that team, like I said, they can all shoot the ball, so that would be a little scary in the East, and that would bring my hope down for the Sixers since they couldn't even beat them without Kyrie, Hayward, and even if they didn't know LeBron. So we wouldn't see a title at all. But hey, good luck to Boston, but forget you guys. You guys are not getting them. So the other team, though, that I heard about was another Western team, and it was the Houston Rockets. They said, his relationship with CP3, and, that he may want to hook up with him, and, Harden, the way he's been playing, that trio makes sense. That, he joins CP3 out there and all of that. There are some halts in this that could hurt that. Because that would be your big three, and then if you want to count Capella as your big four, but he could be your down low guy defensively. He has a body down there that can a presence down there that can stop some people. So he's definitely a good possibility. That's definitely a possibility. I see that. I don't see it. I saw different things that all three these guys like the ball in their hands. It won't work. Listen, CP3 and Harden like the ball in their hands, and it worked. I don't think it'll be a problem because LeBron's trying to get the ball away from him more, I think, now. He wants to be he learned to shoot the ball a lot better. He wants to be the go-to guy. That he doesn't have to drive to the lane. He can rest his body more. The only issue with this team is that CP3 tends to get hurt later in the season, and that's the only thought process in my mind that goes, you know what? I don't know about Houston because we get this title run, and then bam, CP3 is hurt. Like what happened to them, and they ended up losing to Golden State. They had a good chance at possibly beating them with CP3. Things were definitely a whole different ball game. Golden State looked like the Golden State that lost that 3-1 lead to the Cavs 3 years ago. So, or 2 years ago, my bad. So this is I don't see this one as much of it's definitely a better possibility than some of the others we talked about, but I don't see it being, the ideal one for him.
I think Houston, it'll be a pretty good situation, but I think the bigger issue is the cap room. Houston needs to somehow get rid of Ryan Anderson's crazy contract. I don't know who in the right mind would want to pick that up because he's Ryan Anderson and he's getting paid crazy amount of money. So I think they need to somehow figure out a third team to have a 3-team trade in that situation if LeBron does want to go to Houston. So that's kind of the one holdup I see there. But from a rest of the team perspective, that's perfect for LeBron. CP, Harden, Eric Gordon, these are straight shooters, and you have Capella basically just cleaning up the rebounds. It's perfect for him. They might lose PJ Tucker there too, but you gain LeBron James, so you'll be all right. So I think that'll be the biggest challenge for Golden State is if he goes to Houston, because clearly, as we just saw, Houston as is took Golden State to Game 7, and like Ryan mentioned, with CP there, if he didn't get hurt, they probably could have won. So and now if you add LeBron to that team, I think we get to a change into who is the dominating team in the West now. So from a competitive standpoint, I think that's the move, because basically, I think obviously me and Ryan already mentioned it before. Like whoever wins that West title is going to win the chip. That's just like we saw this year, because both teams are just powerhouses at that point. So our last topic for today is the legacy of Kevin Durant and Steph Curry. KD has 2 championships now, and Steph has 3. KD has 2 Finals MVPs. Steph has 2 regular MVPs. I know Ryan mentioned it in our initial topic, about Steph was a worthy player to win MVP this time around too, but it looks like KD won it just because of his performances in Game 3. So, do you think, Ryan, that KD... Well, I think Steph's legacy is always going to be he's the best shooter of all time. He's been one of the key components of this Golden State team from the beginning. Whereas KD, on the other hand, he kind of just, he's obviously been a star player, a superstar player. One could argue he's top 2. It's him and LeBron. But he did leave his OKC team to join a 73-win Golden State team and basically took the easy way out, one could argue. But whenever Golden State needed him, he stepped up, because in that Game 3 where Steph and Clay basically didn't show up, KD saved him and banged on him. I mean, that was probably his best performance. So, I mean, even though one could say they took the easy way out, I mean, clearly Golden State needs a guy like KD. When all else fails, KD is one of the purest scorers we've ever seen in the league. So, what do you think about that? Do you call him one of the greats of all time, or do you think he's like in that next tier down? Very good player, Hall of Famer clearly, but he's not one to be that franchise player to take you to that title by himself.
There's definitely the bump off of OKC to jump to a 73-win team definitely tarnishes his legacy. I mean, he was a great player in OKC, and I'm not taking anything away from him there. Listen, I love KD as a player, but that move tarnishes anything he does currently. And I'm not disagreeing that he needed that they needed him, but they also have the same basic team that was there from the very beginning and a part of the 73 team, in the starting lineup and some of the role players. Yes, Game 3, he did show up, and he showed up every game, and Curry didn't. But Curry, when Durant was semi-off in that Game 2, where he had a record 9 threes, Curry looked like the Curry that we saw from that first series, and even this second time around when they played, the guy who was the go-to guy, the guy who just put the ball up and do what he wanted to, and just crazy shots that were going in. That's the guy I remember seeing come into the league, the guy that took this team to the championship and won it. That was the guy I saw. But then when KD's on the floor, he kind of backs off. So, to your point about, you think Steph will stay that, I hope he stays that way. But, you could definitely see that he pushes himself back more when KD's on the court, and he doesn't rely on himself as much as he used to until he did in that one game. Me personally, I don't think it takes away from Durant as much, because if you look at it, without Durant, this team possibly could have lost this series a little bit more, which is why they're giving him the MVP. Because Draymond, from the very beginning, I thought he was an overrated player, and he's just continually proven that the last 3 times that these teams have showed up. After the first series, he was kind of like, there's nothing to him. So I kind of see him fading out more, and he's the player that I kind of expected to be really nothing. I don't really think he's still the star of that team. You put him on any team, and I don't think he'll show up. You can still put Durant anywhere, and he will still show up. You can still put Steph anywhere, he will still show up. So I think that other people and even the NBA, when they look at him, they may say that this hurts him a little bit more, and I can see why they're saying it tarnishes his record a little more. But the guy still is doing what he was doing. He just wasn't winning titles, where now he is.
Yeah, he's winning titles because he's on a super team. It's easy when you don't need to do everything. You got guys to do everything else.
Yeah, but he's still a top 2 player in the NBA.
Exactly. That's my point. He's always been a top 2 player.
My point, it doesn't make him better than LeBron James. It doesn't make him better than Steph Curry. He'll stay a top 2 player. I don't think it'll bring down his tier more. I'm
talking about all time.
All time. It may hurt him when NBA people look at him and try to rate him and all that stuff. I don't think it hurts him as much, only because he's always played this well. I'm not going to say he's going to be, top 5 dead or alive, but, I said that he's still a top-tier player. The man was a fantastic player in OKC. I think it tarnishes him to get to a top 5 because he went to such a great team to begin with.
I mean, I guess my issue with KD is he believes he's on the same level as LeBron James, and I don't think that's the case. And I think you would agree with me there, because
oh yeah, no, he's definitely not the same as LeBron James.
Because like Kevin Durant is a way better scorer. I can't disagree that. LeBron is not as an efficient scorer as KD, but what LeBron has is that he is a facilitator. He makes everyone around him better, like way better. And he could lead teams to places that no other player can. Like, for example, if I had to switch out LeBron for KD in Cleveland, Cleveland is not going to the finals with KD instead of LeBron James. I'm going to guarantee that. Would they do well? Yeah. Would I think they would go to the playoffs? Yes. Would I think they would probably win a couple rounds? Yeah. But I don't think when it comes down to it, he does not make other players better. That's my opinion. I don't think KD makes other players better. He could score in bunches. That's his greatest asset. Like, no one could stop him offensively. He's going to get his. That's just kind of where that's his greatest attribute, and that's why Golden State needs him, because when the other shooters go on droughts, you need that guy who's just always going to be consistent, because 3-point shooters do have cold streaks, and it seems that for whatever reason Steph and Clay have like the same cold streak, and that's when you need KD, because he's always hot. Like, you rarely have bad scoring games from KD. He's going to give you close to 30 every game, and that's why he's great. But my problem with him is that's all you're going to get from him. He's not going to give you playmaking. He doesn't do that, and that's kind of my knock on him. And that's why I don't think he'll ever be LeBron James, and that's why he'll never be a top 10 player of all time. That's my opinion. I think he's a great scorer, and that's kind of where I stop at him.
I think he could possibly make more plays. I mean, you see him make some plays here and there. I'm not saying LeBron James. I agree with you there wholeheartedly. He is not on the same level as LeBron when it comes to that. You know, if I'm going to grade him on OKC and not, you know, what he's done in Golden State, the issue in OKC was, and still is, Westbrook. I think the year that they made it and lost to the Cleveland Cavaliers, or Miami Heat, whichever one it was, whatever LeBron team it was. I'm drawing a blank right now.
Miami.
But, you know, that Miami, whatever year that they lost that one, that they should have won, that was the year that Harden was there and Westbrook, you know, and they had some other pieces to the puzzle there as well. If they had, instead, like I said from the very beginning, get rid of Westbrook. He was the problem from the very beginning. He was a ball hog, didn't like to pass the ball. He'll put up 40 shots and make 10 of them. You get Harden, who was more of an unselfish player at that time. I think that team, if you get rid of Westbrook, would have won a title, and I don't think we would have seen Durant disappear as much. He would have been able to make some plays. I'm not saying, again, not as much as LeBron. I'm not saying that, but, you know, he was making plays back then. Not as crazy, you know, but he's still a consistent scorer, like you said. And, you know, I think he could possibly squeak into a top 10. I'm not saying it's a guarantee, but, you know, he definitely is a great player. But I can't fully disagree with you, though, that, you know, he tarnished his record by coming to this team where you don't see him show some of the attributes and traits that he can do, because he doesn't have to do it. All right, for my hot topic, about a month ago, we talked about Dwayne Casey and getting fired from the Toronto Raptors after getting swept by LeBron James and the Cleveland Cavaliers. As soon as the Cavaliers got swept, the Pistons signed a 5-year deal with none other than Dwayne Casey. What does this do for the Pistons? I don't think it really does much for them. No disrespect to Dwayne Casey, I just don't see... Listen, yeah, players fail during playoffs and can't show up, but there's a lot to do with coaching that as well. I'm not blaming it all on coaching. I'm not saying that. But the Pistons really don't have anybody, and yeah, they were a possible 8 seed in the East. That's not saying much for an 8 seed in the East. I don't see where this team, where he can build off of the team that he has to get a solid team. But, you know, he may be able to do something, And I hope the best for him that he can prove me wrong and he can build up with guys, which then shows that it really was Toronto. It really was, their 2 stars there that really messed up that dynamic that could never beat LeBron because it was in their head they could never beat him. And it wasn't just the coaching. I respect his full right to pull whatever. I respect Casey's a coach for the most part. Like I said, I'm not gonna go out there and say, oh, this is terrible, terrible. I just don't see where it helps the Pistons. But he was a solid coach. So maybe with a different team, with different players, he can build this team to be a competitive team in a top 5, 6 seed, because like I said, the 8th seed really wasn't much, but if you can bring that 5, 6 up there where you're fighting for that 4, 5, 3 spot, like the end of the season, like you were seeing, in this season, he could possibly get some pieces there because of who he is that may help. Maybe his coaching shows and proves that he wasn't the coach that lost him the team. It was the players choking because they've never beaten LeBron James.
Yeah, I mean, to add to what Ryan said, Dwayne Casey is a decent coach. Is he some game changer? I don't think so. I don't think it's on the same level as like a Greg Popovich or a Brad Stevens. I don't think he's on any of that top caliber level. But he is a respected coach. He clearly took Toronto to places they've never been before. So you got to commend him for that. But kind of agree what Ryan said. I don't think it's going to make a big difference for Detroit. Detroit's not really a place where, at least now, they don't have the talent to really do well, or at least not as well as what Casey did with Toronto. I mean, you got Drummond, you got Griffin. They still have Reggie Jackson. I mean, I don't know. I don't think that team is that good. But he does. His greatest skill is having that defensive mentality. So, I mean, players like Drummond and Griffin really don't play a lick of defense. So maybe if they have that mentality in them, they could play better, and that could help them. So at least that's my opinion on this situation. That if he gets those guys to buy in defensively, I think that could help the team, because obviously those guys could all score. But if they need to succeed in the long run, they need to play defense. Moving on to my hot topic for this week. It's none other than the Sixers firing, or not really firing, I guess he resigned, Brian Colangelo. I don't know why this took so long. I know we spoke about this last week, saying like what's happening, why is this taking so long. I'm glad it finally occurred, and I'm glad that he's out, that we can move on, and we can worry about the draft and free agency without this looming over us for the next few weeks. But I'm not even sure why it took this long, Ryan, because I feel like when we mentioned it, we thought it was a pretty open and shut case here. It's like, dude, you and your wife screwed up. You basically damaged your reputation here. Why would we want you to be a part of this franchise if you're just going to ruin our reputation? And, well, I'm glad it finally happened. Good riddance, and I hope I never hear of your name again.
I'm sure there will be some team out there that will somehow throw his name in there. My issue with this is that they let him resign. Now, it may have been out of respect to his father, and okay, I get that, because his father is well respected. But like you said, we said it last week, he should have been fired. He should have been gone day one. His wife took the heat for this. I still think that's a cop-out. I heard different things about, when he was up in, I want to say it was Toronto. Yeah. Anytime there was a report about him, he was running to read the report and try and find something positive he could flip it on and say, oh, this was wrong. So this guy's always had a problem with anyone saying negative about him. Again, to put it on his wife, I think is a cop-out. And for her to accept it, listen, he's rich. I get it. But, good riddance. He's not with the Sixers anymore. And like I said, the only downside is we didn't fire him, but out of respect to the father, I think that's the only reason he resigned. And again, to take this long is just out of control.
That's all we have for this week's episode of the Benchwarmers. Once again, please follow us on Twitter at Benchwarmers06. Subscribe to our podcast on Google Play Music, Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, Stitcher, and YouTube. And just like how Ryan mentioned earlier in the episode, stay tuned for our World Cup preview. Will be coming out also this week.
The Benchwarmers.